Hi and welcome. It's so good to be with you. So great to come into your homes or your office or wherever you are and introduce to you all the new skills that our students have learned going through the course, the role of taste, flavour and fragrance in marketing. We've got 7 fantastic presentations to show you today, and the students have been on a wonderful journey. Just to introduce myself, first of all, my name is Nathaniel Davis. I'm the course author and teacher, and I've had the privilege and pleasure of taking our students through this 100% online course from many of them not knowing much about sensory and emotional research for food and fragrance, all the way through to them delivering their own projects, conducting their own research, all under the difficult circumstances of what has been COVID. So it's just been a great journey, and I'm so happy to share that with you today. Okay, so how are we going to start today? I'm going to give a brief introduction, and then I'm going to lead you into our 7 excellent presentations. So where does the story begin? Let me take you back to September 2020. There's a course I normally run in the classroom in Grasse. However, because of the current circumstances with COVID, we decided with the University of Côte d'Azur to run it online. And the students were asked to conduct their own primary research and to be able to map out the passage of an aroma, a fragrance or an ingredient or a foodstuff or a drink over the passage of time. So imagine you've got these fantastic flavors and fantastic tastes. Our students' role is to understand the emotions that those flavors and fragrances are generating, put it in a visual format, describe or ask consumers to describe what they're sensing, and put that into 3 key diagrams, which we're going to show you later on. A very hard task indeed. So how did they do it? They learned techniques, how they could understand the importance of consumers' stories. They acquired research techniques, and they then developed these presentations and put it together in a remarkably short amount of time. And then these guys have actually had the tenacity and they're so brave to actually come and show you their work. So this is both scientific and creative work, and they're prepared to show it all. So I'm very, very proud of them. And I hope they've learned to understand that flavour and fragrance has such a huge emotional component, and they've learned how to communicate that with yourselves. So to summarise, they're all involved on the course I provide, and this course has a heady, large promise. It says that they will be able to master the connection between flavour, fragrance and emotion and produce their own primary research, having no prior experience. Well, it's up to you to decide, can they do it? Did they do it? Did they manage to see how flavour and fragrance preference works? And can they explode a 2-second aroma experience into a 2-minute description of it? Or can they describe what takes a matter of seconds to move through the mouth or to drink? Can they explode that out into a long description of the aromas, the notes, the sequences and the emotions that's generated? And can they see how that information can be used for commercial advantage in understanding the different needs that this product might be suited to satisfy? So who do we have here to showcase? Well, we have a list of students which I'm delighted to introduce to you. We have Alice, we have Viktor, Yuliya, Mame, Ahmed, Camille and Adit, and they're going to show us their work today. Okay, so I'm going to start with Alice. I'm really proud to introduce this work. She's a Spanish pharmacist, and she has her own perfumery brand, and she actually did her study on her own fragrance, and she loved going to the beach in her childhood and her younger days, and she's created a perfume to capture this. And you'll see from her work that she managed to identify 3 key pillars of this fragrance, and she understands which part of the fragrance formulation is driving these 3 key emotions and feelings. So look out for when she talks about what ingredients are driving the sense of freshness and cleanliness from the sea, and look out when she talks about the fruits driving the happiness side of it, and also the calmness coming from the musk. So without further ado, let's hand over and let's hear from Alice.
lo que escondes, tú me dices dónde. Todo lo que pasa es relativo, pero cada vez que estoy contigo, el tiempo se detiene y desaparece.
Dulce.
Hay algo dulce, como un caramelo.
Per mi és afruitat, una mica dolç.
Recordo com el fresc, així afruitat.
Me recuerda a una mezcla de como de postre con flores.
És com supernet, super fresc, floral.
Flores. Jazmín.
No sé, rosa potser.
O sea, me viene el color blanco, correr por la arena, el ruido del mar, una chica contenta corriendo por allí de día.
També com negre.
Alegría.
Sí, alegria. Me da alegria.
És a dir, no és gens dens, és lleuger, de moment.
És com més dens, més sensual.
Estos olores, por ejemplo, a madre selva, que vas por el bosque y de repente te entra un dulzor. Es como floral, pero es como dulce como de postre.
Bueno, pues huele bien.
Sí, la verdad es que sí. Me lo pondría a diario, la verdad.
Me lo podría poner, mira que soy difícil con los perfumes. De día. O sea, no es algo que vea para una fiesta, no es algo que vea para la noche, es algo que veo de día, un día festivo, un día que vas a pasártelo bien.
No, lo regalaria.
¿A quién?
A mi pareja.
Una noia més jove, potser. No crec que sigui clàssic precisament per regalar-li a una persona gran. La típica és la noia social que cau bé.
Greetings, I'm Alice, and I'm glad to present my second perfume called What It Is to Be Young. That it's a sweet floral and a bit powdery scent made in my own laboratory. The key concept of this fragrance is the experience of being a morning in the beach, its hotness, the happiness and freedom lived there. This aroma signature is a bit messy due to the amount of ingredients and nuance the fragrance have. I had 4 interviews as you see in the video, plus 3 familiar interviews that were not recorded, as well as my pharmacy customers that gave me their opinion, but didn't make the psychometric test. This fragrance has those 3 pillars that I show on the video. The purity of the seas, embroidered by Isoe Super and Roxane Edione roses and talcum. The happiness and life due to red fruits and tropical gradations. And finally, the calmness and relaxing drawn by the scent of musks and white flowers. Sensual and fruity as a dessert, the fragrance presents its sweetness with a cherry, black and red fruit bouquet, plenty of tropical nuance, rememberings of freshness, citric, aquatic, salty, seaweed, tropical flowers, clean clothes, beach, imbuing lightness and sparkling sensation. It evokes floral and Mediterranean rememberings. Your mind feels white and pure, with all its jasmine, night jasmine and carnation blooming around you. With all its magic and sensuality, the rose maintains the density of magic, with the powdery notes that makes you feel feminine, secure, self-comfortable, joyful, plenty, calm, though the indoor presence can make you a bit uncomfortable, and transport the fragrance to the warmness of the coast. This feminine aura persists, maintaining all this sensation through hours, letting a musky, truthful, real, white presence that evokes mindfulness, a relaxing situation, like an aromatic flower jacuzzi bath sensation that guides you through a calm and stable emotions. As we have seen in the writing experience, this fragrance moves you from the aquatic to the fruity, along a path of flowers to finish in the cleaning of synthetic smells. You must keep this fragrance near for friends and family meetups. As for holidays and parties, this perfume can make you optimistic and joyful in everyday tasks. Be plenty energetic, safe. Let your beloveds feel comfortable and safe with your smell. Share your happiness and care about them with a wide smile. At last we have the predicted psychometrics done by me, and as we see, it's a friendly, everyday, holiday, comforting, freedom, kind, gentle, safe, every time, daytime scent that guides you to extroverted and stable emotions.
El tiempo se detiene y desaparece.
Well, that was great. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Alice. And it was great to see. Did you spot the use of the musk coming out there, providing a calming, relaxing feeling? So that was her own creation, her own perfume that she's created and analysed and produced. The 3 types of information she produced: a consumption experience, a written description of the fragrance, the notes, and the emotions that they're generating. She also produced a time-based motion diagram of how the notes react over time, and she also provided the need states as well, the times they'll be able to use. That's great. So we've had 1 fragrance so far. We're now going to move on to a foodstuff. Viktor is based here on the French Riviera, and he's in the food quality world, and he has produced a very interesting presentation and study on the French classic Madeleine cakes. So over to him to hear his presentation.
Hello, Mr. Davis. My name is Viktor. Today, I'm very pleased to share with you my findings about my study on the Madeleine cake, such a Frenchy and very old pastry made for the first time in 1755. During my presentation, I try to highlight how this simple French cake can trigger people's emotions. Due to the particular COVID situation, I only managed to carry out little interviews with people from different generations, but separately. I inform you that I based my product testing on individual packed Madeleine. Let's begin with the visual taste and texture of Madeleine. As you can see, this food product is really simple in terms of ingredients that are used to bake it. However, regarding both its flavor and texture profiles, it's noticeable that the taste journey is not monotonous. At the beginning, the increasing intensity is mostly due to the appearance and the aroma of Madeleine. In fact, buttered and vanilla notes are perceived thanks to the direct olfaction. At the same time, while touching and cutting by hand the product, the spongy and fluffy structure is appearing. The first bite is then sweet and crumbly, and then all the mouths become greasy. Afterwards, the perception intensity is reducing as the taste becomes quite neutral and the texture smooth. In the end, taste experience is enhanced thanks to 2 key ingredients, lemon and baking powder, that provides a kind of tingling sensation in the mouth. The after-eating perception is not so memorable. In fact, Madeleine makes people thirsty. They may need a cup of tea. Let's focus now on the need states. To build these mood boards, I put pictures related to the motivation for the consumption occasion for Madeleine. My interviews allowed me to understand that Madeleine cake is mostly linked to childhood and time spent with grandparents at the center of the slide. It was the case mostly for my 60 years old interviewees, I would say. For them, Madeleine was linked to their childhood snack time, served with hot chocolate or juice. It brought them back to child carefree and family togetherness. However, Madeleine cake is not only the grandmother's or mother's baked products. Today, the consumption occasions are multifaceted, especially for my generation and younger generation. It satisfies hunger at university when it's available at snack machine. It's also a product linked to conviviality during post-wedding brunch, for instance, or even during networking sessions, such as company breakfasts. Moreover, Madeleine could be at the center of a nomadic experience as an in-flight catering product or on the train. Here, the practical aspect prevails, but we can also feel foreign people's emotion experiencing à la française products while coming to France by the air. To conclude this presentation, here is my version of the written consumption experience of Madeleine cake. This product can be defined as a regressive product, régressif in French. It is particularly linked to childhood. However, in my study case, I realized that people's emotions are really different talking about homemade Madeleine or processed Madeleine. My interviewees were a bit disappointed with my individual packed Madeleine. That is why I moved my mindset and I chose to ask them, how could you define the perfect Madeleine? Here I noticed a relevant aspect. Most of the time they define the product only by its odor, such as I like when it smells a lot of butter, for example. So what stirred a lot of emotion there was more the memories of the kitchen odor when cooking Madeleine rather than the taste of the product. It is also visible on the flavor profile at the beginning of my presentation. Before I was wondering if Madeleine cake has become a sort of old-fashioned product. In fact, it's not. Food makers innovate, such as Maison Colibri, a French brand, to revitalize the image of this traditional cake and attract younger generation. Even if this traditional French recipe is pretty old, it continues to symbolize how a food product can stir consumers' emotion. I think everyone can describe his or her Proust's Madeleine. Thank you for your attention.
Great, thank you very much. That was fantastic to hear. I enjoyed that talk immensely, and I particularly wanted to highlight some parts for you. He also noticed that later on in the time of the consumption experience, so you see from the graph on the left-hand side, it started buttery and vanilla, and towards the end, you notice the tingling sensation. So we get this extra dimension of flavour. You get this astringency coming in from the lemon and also from the baking powder. So that was very good and exciting to see. And moving on, he did also notice within the need states, which was very interesting when you talk to one generational cohort. It's quite old-fashioned, but for the younger, the university, Madeleines have managed to go into other what we call need states. So they're satisfying hunger, almost kind of a fuel usage as well. So that was very, very good, and I was very pleased to see that. And he also, did you catch it at the beginning? He also noted the drinks that would accompany consumption. So it's always good to find out what sort of drinks are being eaten with our product. So that was very enjoyable. So thank you very much there, Viktor. Now, I'd like to hand over to Yuliya. Yuliya's done a presentation about a much-loved Ferrero chocolate. Yuliya is Russian, and she's a Russian-born French-trained chemist, and she's going to present to us this delicacy, which is often associated with family and this time of year. So she's going to take us through that. I was very interested, intrigued by this. She brings out the points that it's very much involved in the gifting need state, and she shows very well from the first bite through to the finish, the whole experience of eating it. And she comes up with an innovative way of showing the frequency of respondents who responded to different elements in the consumption experience. So I'll hand over to her now, and she can lead you through her research.
Hello, my name is Yuliya Kolomeets, and today I'm presenting the product that I've chosen for my marketing study. It is Raffaello, a spherical coconut almond confection that was created by Ferrero S.p.A., which is an Italian manufacturer, and it first appeared on the market in 1990. This is the list of the ingredients that are used to produce this confectionery. We can see that it is not too long, which is a rather good sign for the modern consumer that would not want anything, as they say, chemical in their food. And the candy is actually composed of the top layer of desiccated coconut, of the thin, crunchy wafer-like layer, of a creamy a soft white chocolate filling and the almond inside. So it is very multi-layered confectionery. As for the test group that I've chosen, here you have the information about my respondents. I've tried to have it as heterogeneous as possible. We have different age groups, different countries of origins and current countries, different professions, so different financial status and the different family status. I had two groups. First is in the lighter coloring and second is in the darker color. This is what I could find out as for the need state. My respondents said that they would have the Raffaella for a special occasion, as they find it very elegant and festive and even a little bit formal, as the box is beautiful and it looks pretty just standing on the table. For the romantic moments, because it's sensual, soothing and connecting the lovers. And they could also use it for gifting because they think it's momentous, graceful and communicating, as they could use the box of Raffaello to gift a box of Raffaello instead of saying I'm sorry or I love you. As for the tasting experience, this is my feedback that I got. The first bite would be crunchy, crispy, less coconutty. They thought that the flavor was instant and also that it was flaky. Actually, the size of the balls corresponds to the frequency of the responses. The mouthfeel texture got a bit more feedback, but people all thought that it was creamy, it was melting in their mouth, it was soft, but I also, of course, got other responses. And the aftertaste was creamy, coconutty, light and satisfying. Based on that, I could create the shape of the flavor diagram, which connects the intensity of the flavor during the time of the consumption experience. So first, the coconut crunchy is very intense, which then fades away and the creaminess and sweetness appear, which then is intensified by the almond crunch, but it's still very gentle because the almond is blanched, and the aftertaste is more sweet and coconutty and delicate. As for the psychometric circle, these are the responses that I got. So also done in a function of their frequency. The most frequent answers were delicious, addictive, satisfying, and treat. So everyone thinks that it's something special. Of course, I got other responses as well, but less frequently. And as for the mood circle, I got the bottom left part of the circle, which indicates that the product is trusted, will be used extensively, and be embraced as the part of people's life, which is a very good sign for the product. Based on this information, I could write a consumption experience, which would be the following. The pure and elegant look is achieved by the spherical shape and the flakes of the coconut, inviting the consumer to unwind, relax, and enjoy the tasting experience. The sweet is usually eaten whole without biting into it, as it is quite small and practical to eat, giving it the advantage of being refined and appropriate to the sophisticated events. The first bite is accompanied by a crispy crunch of the waffle and coconut layers. The crisp is an announcement of an upcoming experience that the consumer is about to enjoy. It brings in the memories of the family events when the coconut treat was eaten, more than likely. The soft feeling spreads in the mouth, going from the front to the middle and down the top of the tongue. It is harmonious and well balanced. The coconut flavor slowly fades away while the creamy, milky and almost caramel aroma intensifies, giving the consumer a soothing, relaxing and satisfying experience of enjoying the treat. Shortly after, a soft, delicate crunch of the blanched almond in the center of the sweet intensifies the experience while keeping it delicate. Melting in the mouth, the ensemble of subtle flavors of the soft white chocolate filling, coconut flakes and blanched almonds creates a gentle, calming, dreamy feeling, inviting the consumer to reminiscently fantasize about relaxing on a holiday or enjoying a festive atmosphere of a family holiday surrounded by the close ones. On this, I am saying thank you for your attention and please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. Thank you very much.
That was great. Thank you very much. And very good to see that. And you can see from that example how she manages to pull out the tastes of the product and the textures, the initial crunch and then the melt later on and the blanched almond, and tie together within the description the emotions that those key features are driving and producing. And from this, we can see the real journey going over time from that initial crunch, moving to the creaminess, and then to the secondary almond crunch. We've got a really exciting journey going on here. And I would encourage you, with all these products, is to go out. You can obtain most of these products within the shops and to experience it for yourself. Try the product, taste it, drink it, smell the aromas, and see this journey as well that our students have represented here as well, and appreciate that. So excellent work there, great to see, producing all those key elements, and also we got to see the other visual way of representing the data with her circles. So great job, thanks very much for that. Okay. Now I'd like to introduce Mame-Kani. She's got a very exciting background, and she's involved in both the business side of fragrance, but also she's involved in a technical side and marketing. So you've got all these streams coming together in her work. She's fascinated by niche perfumes and perfumes with complexity and interest. And I'm sure you're going to be very excited to see her presentation on one of Gucci's more complex and intriguing fragrances. So over to you.
Hello and welcome to my sensory evaluation. Today I will be focusing on the fragrance H.Sanitatis by Gucci. First, we'll go through product description, then the visual fragrance, the emotions and need states, and finally, I will present my written consumer experience. H.Sanitatis is part of the Gucci Alchemist Garden collection. It was designed by Alberto Morillas from Firmenich. The fragrance is a representation of the book and its herbal theme. The fragrance is also a reference to Chinese ancient medicinal culture. The advertising was clearly inspired by the Silk Road, and we can see navigation tools, spices, and jade, from which the color of the bottle was derived, which is a popular gemstone in Chinese culture. The fragrance was described as a spicy, green, aromatic, and woody scent. The top ingredient is ginger, a spicy and fresh, lifting note. The main aromatic compounds of each ingredient will be listed on the side. The second ingredient of this fragrance is papyrus, which has a crisp, aromatic, and woody note with smoky nuances. This material is subtle, but is strong and lingering. The third ingredient is vetiver, a complex, aromatic green note with earthy and smoky facets as well. And finally, we have cedarwood, which is a commonly used base in perfumery. I've determined the commercial profile of the fragrance using the SDS, the product description from the Gucci website, and fragrance reviews. The panel profile was made through the participants' word choice and the number of times it was mentioned to define the fragrance. As we can see, both profiles do not quite match. The commercial profile is woody, fresh, and spicy. Panel review determined a woody and multifaceted fragrance. Even though it is still rich and complex, the base notes seem to dominate from the initial spray. The freshness of the ginger is replaced by a sweet mint odor, but the aromatic papyrus and vetiver remain intact. The panel rated this product as a fragrance for mature men on prestige or formal occasions. We now have the visual fragrance with each of the main ingredients and their perceived intensity over time. The panelists have also indicated which one of the fragrance's facet they perceived the most during each phase of the assessment. The scent was found to have a heady green projection on opening, then a prolonged effect with secondary projections from amber and vetiver, and finishing with a persisting sillage from the woods, giving a high longevity to this fragrance. Moving on to the emotions and need state associated with H.Sanitatis. 4 themes were evoked. The first one is formal events. With the scent being powerful and complex, it is sure to last all evening and raise curiosity. Which brings us to the second need state, individuality. The panel found H.Sanitatis to match people with a strong and mysterious character who dares to be noticed. And this serves our third need state for seduction perfectly. We're thinking here about any interaction where you want to leave an impression, be it for a business meeting or a more intimate and personal relationship. The last need state is self-care. The aromatic facet of vetiver brings a fresh and aquatic feeling, evoking natural cleanliness and healing. The smoky undertones evoke incense, which were found to be calming and centering. Looking at the emotion wheel, we can see that the recurring stated emotions match the need states previously mentioned. We can conclude by saying that H.Sanitatis is a voluptuous and complex fragrance with a lot of character. On opening, we can perceive the deep spicy facet of the fragrance from ginger, but the note is short-lived. Then rises a lingering fresh and aromatic scent reminiscent of moss, nature, and water from the blend of vetiverols. The dry, woody, and aromatic notes are held together by a sweet amber note that binds this soothing fragrance on the skin. They both finally develop into a stunning, sultry sillage. Thank you very much for your attention.
That was great. Thank you very much. That was great to see. I found that very interesting. Particularly, I did highlight at the beginning, I enjoyed seeing that little summary, that brief backstory about the creation of this fragrance, how it's come about, some of the thinking. And then did you spot later on, she also mentioned that the commercial description, the commercial assessment of the product based on the sensory data that she'd obtained compared to the panel, the consumer panel data, were actually quite different, which is something we would expect, and you might be able to guess why, that using consumer panels, they're sometimes not as able fully to grasp some of the terminology. But I think she did an excellent job there, and particularly if you saw her diagram of the aroma and the fragrance over time, you saw how the projection chain and the movement of that, you could almost smell it in the air as she described it, and the notes coming off and the green notes. So an excellent piece of work, and particularly enjoyed how she tied the need states, the complexity and the need to stand out, how that would suit for different settings, business settings or more evening settings, and how that's actually tied to the nature and the emotions that the product can create. So an excellent job on a very complex product like that. You have to do it over a long period of time because of the time when the head, the middle, and the bass notes are released. So that's an added degree of complexity when we're dealing with fragrance work. So good. I would now like us to come back to the world of the mouth and drink, and we've got a piece of work here from Ahmed, who's based over in Singapore, and he's bringing us a chocolate and malty drink, which is very, very popular there. And he's going to explain that to us. And I'd particularly like you to have a look at this drink because it's both a hot drink and a cold drink. And it's amazing how many different need states, different usages this product now has, from being comforting when it's hot to being refreshing and providing energy, all from one drink. So depending on whether it's served hot or cold, it actually becomes different products. So I'll hand over to Ahmed now, and here's a look at the product of Milo.
Greetings, I am Ahmad Tirmuzi, and I will be discussing on the consumption experience of my chosen product called Milo, a product of Nestle. It is a chocolate malt beverage drink that is well liked and popular in my home country, Singapore. I chose this product as it is so well liked here, and it interests me as to why and what makes this drink so popular here, such that it is as easily available as coffee and tea in beverage stores. Milo is like a third alternative drink to coffee and tea. One interesting fact is that Milo was actually originated from Australia and not from Asia. Perhaps its effective and strategic marketing makes Milo so successful in Singapore. For my sensory marketing focus group findings, this is the symphony of flavors that is genuinely experienced by them. At first sip, a full and rich chocolate flavor begins to fill the mouth, followed by its milky and creamy taste. Its sweetness then begins to peak, leaving a lingering malty aftertaste. In its mid state, Milo is consumed at sports events such as a marathon, where Milo is provided for free to participants, as you can see in this photo with a Milo truck here. At schools, where also at schools where kids would be flocking for free Milo at the Milo truck to satisfy their sweet cravings, or even on a hot day where Milo can be refreshing as a thirst quencher. Milo is also usually consumed for breakfast to give the morning energy you need. And in Singapore, this is usually associated to McDonald's breakfast, as their breakfast set food usually comes with Milo, as seen in the photo here. When it is a McDonald's breakfast, it is always comfort food. Milo is also a convenient drink. It can be drank anywhere, anytime, or whenever you feel like it to satisfy yourself and keep you going. Linking the flavor profile and its need state, here is the crafted within consumption experience. The aroma is stimulating, a rich cocoa, sweet, milky chocolate, and active and acceptable drink with a lingering malty taste in the background. When served cold, it provides a refreshing, energetic, and nutrition boost to perk up the day for breakfast. On a hot day, it gives comfort and calmness, triggering nostalgic memories of school and sporting events back in the day. First, in the mouth, it is full and refreshing, with a stimulating subtle sweetness. Mid-mouth, it begins to fill and surround the mouth with a creamy and full-bodied indulgent chocolate, accompanied with a subsequent burst of sweetness, feeling controlled, sociable, and lively. The lingering, rich malty aftertaste is satisfying and keeps you going, making it a delicious, convenient drink for everyone. So, what are you waiting for? Grab a Milo.
That's great. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed that. It's great to see. Did you spot all those numerous need states? We had a drink which was comforting and both energizing, doing all manner of things. No wonder it's a commercial success. And finally, on his consumption experience, we see here down at the bottom, we have at the end of that taste journey, we have a rich, lingering, rich, malty aftertaste, and that's driving a lot of satisfaction there and really keeps them going. So the idea that maltiness is really key in that experience and providing a real type of kind of keeping you going, energizing dimension. A job well done there on a product which has been almost assumed to be an Asian product, and it's been really assimilated so well there. Very exciting to see. Thank you very much for that presentation. I would now like us to have a look at the work of Camille. Camille lives in the east of France, and interestingly and sadly, as a child, she actually lost her sense of smell. For a while, for a period of time. Now she's recovered it, thankfully, and this is motivated and driven her on to have a real passion for ingredients. So this is the first time in this exhibition we're going to have someone who's looking at an ingredient. So she's looking at the role of orange blossom, and I'd like to hand over to her now. But particularly before we do that, notice at the beginning how she sees and she uses the aroma signature, the aroma shape that I taught her. She picks out 3 different nuances within the ingredient. So we'll hand over to her now.
Hello, today I will talk to you about the evaluation study I made on orange blossom. For this, I use the essential oil of Nelly. The first part is the shape of the fragrance. I identified 3 main notes in orange blossom that are a bit overlaid, but we can actually identify shape of the fragrance. The first one is very strong. It is the exotic and floral note, which is a bit sour, and that the second notes balance well, as the second note is very sweet. It is gourmand, a bit honey-like, and it is very heady kind of note. And then there's the fresh, subtle green note, very soft, very light, that comes at the end, mainly at the end of the fragrance. I identified 4 need states. The first one is baking. People usually, when you talk about orange blossom or when they smell it, the first thing they say is, it smells like a cake. I put this in the pastries I make, and especially in France, where galette and crêpe is like very important, and people usually put orange blossom aroma, orange blossom water in their cakes. And with this comes the friends and family, because you usually cook for them and you eat the meal together, and it brings a lot of conviviality. It is enjoyable. You share the same meal and everybody feels kind of happy to be together. Then there's the quality alone time. Orange blossom is very comforting and relaxing smell. It soothes you, and it is very appropriate for cocooning time. You light an orange blossom candle, read a book under the blanket, and it just feels good for you. And then there's cleanness. It is often that you find orange blossom on shower gels because it feels fresh. It's stimulating. It's great for a morning shower. It gets you going for the day, and people like it. Finally, the written consumption